Welcome to Blender in Motion. Welcome to another tutorial. Today we're going to be making a logo and a text effect, and it's going to look something like this. So yeah, let's get into it. First thing, let's add the screencast key so you can see what's going on. And what I'm going to do is select A on the keyboard and click X to delete everything. Then I'm going to go into the front orthographic view and I'm going to say Shift A, and I'm going to select a plane, and I'm going to say RX90 on the keyboard, and I'm just going to scale it up a bit so we could see what's in our viewport. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is subdivide this plane. So I'm going to go into edit mode and I'm going to click subdivide, and I'm going to make it about 20. Okay, and the next thing, I'm going to shade it smooth, and yeah. So the next step would now be to add a subsurf modifier to this. So let's add a subdivision surface, and let's make that about 3. And yeah, now let's get a text, and we're going to use this text to actually carve the logo design onto this plane. So I'm going to show you how I do that. So I'm going to get a text, so I'm going to say Shift A and select a text. I'm going to bring this text onto my view, and then I'm going to select R, and I'm going to put an R. I'm just going to increase the size of that. Let's make it about 10 for now. Let's change the font to Arial Black, and I'm just going to bring this R a bit lower so it goes below the plane that we just created. And I'm going to increase the size to about 25. Okay, I think that's a bit too big. Let's decrease the size, maybe 21. And I'm just pressing GX to move it on my X-axis to the left. I think that's okay. I just want to confirm whether it's below the plane. Is the R below the plane? And it's slightly above the plane on the top. Okay, so let's get that done. So what I'm going to do now is extrude this just so we can get some. So I'm going to extrude it to about 21, and I'm going to convert this text into a mesh. So this R that we created now, I'm going to convert it into a mesh. So let's convert this into a mesh. So I'm going to go to Object, and I'm going to say Convert to Mesh. And here we can see that the typography is bad, and we need to correct that. So let's go into the Remesh modifier, click Remesh, click Smooth, remove disconnected pieces, and make that into about an 8. And we're gonna say click Apply, because you can see we're gonna click Apply to this. So Apply, and now we have better geometry, better topography on this R. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to make this R, or this object, cut into this plane so that we get our logo design. So how do we do that? We select the plane and we go into our Boolean modifier, and we want the R to cut into the plane. So we take the text object that we have and we select it and we click apply. And now if we take the R and we delete it, we have our carved out logo. So now we can add a particle system to this logo design. So we go and we say select a new particle. We keep the frame start to 0, we keep the end to 0, and we leave the lifetime to about 100. Let's increase it to about 100, and let's change the timeline while we add it to about 150. We go into our settings of velocity, we change the velocity normal to 0, we select the rotation and dynamic. We put the render to none, and we keep the fill weights to 0, and we go into texture and we create a new texture, and we're going to come to that a bit later. So now we have that set up. What we're going to do is we're going to add, so let's just play it in our viewport. You see nothing happening. That's because we haven't selected points. Let's go to our field settings or our viewport display, and let's put that as points. So now we see the particles here. So let's move those particles by adding a force field. Let's add some wind, and let's bring that down, and let's put the wind power to about 10, and let's put the flow to about 1.20. Now we see the particles going up, but we need some turbulence as well, so it looks better. So go to force fields, select turbulence, and bring it down. Let's just leave it there, and let's put the power to about 20. Let's put the size to 2.6, and let's put the flow to about 0.1, 0.5, 0.5, and we're getting some effect happening to our particles, as you can see. And you can basically play around with this to get the type of look that you want, whatever suits you, whatever makes you happy. So yeah, let's now add it. What we want to do actually here is we want to make this particles only get affected when we have a empty passing through this plane. So in order to do that, we have to first say get an empty, and we get a plane axis empty, and let's just add that to the right about there, and let's put a location keyframe, and let's go to frame 50, and let's go and put another keyframe there to about frame 50, and let's put location. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to our particle settings. We're going to go to our texture that we created earlier, and I'm going to go to the property tab here, and I'm going to say change it to a blend mode. I'm going to change this to easing. I'm going to change the influence from general time to force fields. I'm going to change the mapping from generated to object, and I'm going to select the empty as the object. And now if we see what's happening, when the object passes the plane, that's when it dissolves. I mean, not dissolves, where it breaks up. So it's staying intact, and then only when it hits the plane, that's when it's affecting the particles, which is what we want. Okay, so we have that done. The next thing now is to bake this thing. So let's just add some more particles to it. Let's make it about 20,000. I think that's maybe about 15,000. And let's go into our let's just bake this entire thing. So I'm going to say bake all dynamics, and let's just wait for that to bake, and that's done. So we have that set up. The next step would be to add a explode modifier to our scene. So let's go to add modifier to this, and let's select explode modifier, and let's see what that does. So now we see our logo disintegrating. So we have that sorted out, and the next thing we can do is add another explode modifier just to make it a bit more smoother. Let's see what that does. So yeah, I'm happy with that. Now what we want to do, the next step is that we want these particles to dissolve, and we want the particles to basically become transparent as it's breaking up this logo, and then it's going to reveal our text simultaneously to doing that, as we have seen in the video. So let's add another empty, and let's call that a plane axis, and let's also leave that on the right side, and let's just name this empty 2 to material empty. Okay, and now let's add a new material to this logo. So let's just get some space. Let's just get some space here. Let's just get this panel out, get a shader, and let's remove this principal BSDF, and let's get an emission shader, and let's get a mix shader, and let's get a transparent shader, and let's connect it to our mix shader, the emission to the mix, and the transparency at the bottom, and let's connect this to our surface. Let's change the color to blue, or whatever color actually that you want, and let's go into render mode to see how it looks on this left hand panel. We can see some blue happening here, or some. And let's put our panel to bloom, ambient occlusion, screen space reflections, motion blur, and on this emission we're going to say Control T and add this texture node and the mapping and the image texture, If you don't have Node Wrangler, go to edit preferences and add that add-on. We're going to delete this image texture and we're going to add a gradient texture, and we're going to put that there, and we're going to get a color ramp, and we're going to connect the color to the FAC, and we're going to connect the color ramp to the FAC node on the top, and we're going to change the gradient texture to easing. We're going to change the color ramp to ease, and we're going to change this to an object on our texture coordinate and select the material empty as our texture coordinate. Okay, so now let's select that texture coordinate and we're gonna make it start. We're gonna put a keyframe on the timeline to about 20, and then we're going to go to about frame 70 or 80. Let's just say 80, and let's move this all the way to the left. A bit further away from our, and let's click I, location, so we can see okay, let's just click that again, and let me go back and do the location. Let's make it GX and about there, and let's click I and location. So now you see that it's working. As you can see, it's dissolving. So we have that set up, and now let's get a plane to make our background, and let's bring the plane down. Let's increase the scale of it, and let's get this. Let's use this. Let's just get the scene up, and Control B, and let's smoothen this plane. Okay, and let's get a camera setting. So let's get a camera and Control Alt Numpad 0 to get it into our perspective. And now we have our logo. So let's add a material to this plane, and let's increase the roughness or decrease the roughness. I think that looks okay. Let's go to our viewport settings of the particles, and let's change it to rendered, just so that we could see our particles. Yeah, I think that looks better, so we can see the particle, we can see the whole thing happening. And as you can see, it's dissolving as it's going. That's perfect. Let's change the world settings to black, or like semi-black. Let's get some lighting. Let's add a light, an area lamp. Let's say GC, and let's pick that a bit. Let's make that a bit to the left. Let's go into the settings of the light. Let's see how that looks. Like 1,000. Piece of darkness. Just going to camera mode. I'm just changing the effect a bit. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to get the text that we had, and we're going to also make it disintegrate. We're going to make it reveal just as this logo disintegrates. And one more thing, before we do that, let's go into our material tab, and let's change it from blend mode to opaque to alpha blend. And now, yeah, now it's going to be transparent. So let's just see how that looks in the render mode. Okay, let's just put it this way. Yeah, it is dissolving, so that's what we want. Let's add a text. So let's go Shift A and add a text. So let's say RX90, and let's edit this. Let's edit it to your text or whatever text you want. Okay, and let's get to the text. Let's change it to Arial bold. Let's go to size. Let's change that to 10. Okay, maybe that's a bit too big. Let's make it about 3 or 4.80. Let's go here. Let's make it. I think that's okay. Let's increase the geometry. So let's go to extrude it a bit. And I think that's okay. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do a same transparency on this text, but we're going to only reveal it once the logo is dissolving, and then the text is also going to come after, just after, while the logo is dissolving. So let's add a material to that. So we go new, and we have a principal BSDF. So let's keep that, and let's add a mix shader. No, not that one. The mix shader is this one. We're going to then attach it to the principal. Then we're going to have a transparency, and we're going to attach that as well, just so you could see what's going on. And then we're going to say Control T, and we're going to delete this image texture. We're going to add a gradient texture, and we're going to connect that to the vector. and we're going to have another color ramp similar to the previous material that we made. We're going to connect the color to the back, and we're going to connect the color of the color ramp to the mix factor, and we're going to change it to ease. We're going to change the linear to easing, and object would be the mapping would be object and not the UV. So we need to basically create an object that's going to affect this material. So let's get another empty. So let me just go into solid mode, and I'm going to say Shift A, get another empty. Okay, so we have another empty, and I'm going to bring this empty to the left. Okay, and I'm going to say control location, I location, and then I'm going to go to about frame 50. So I'm going to say frame 50, and I'm going to say location. So now, as you can see, this empty, we're going to call it empty text material, and it's going to reveal our text. So let's go to our object here now on the text, and let's select the material empty that we just created. Okay, so we have that set up, and we're gonna go, and don't forget to change it to alpha hashed. So let's see how that looks in render mode. So you can see that it's transparent, and then the text is now revealing while our logo is dissolving. So let's get this text visible. So how do we do that? Let's just go to the text. Let's make it a bit metallic. Need to get a maybe a lighting. Let me just go into solid mode. Let me go and get a light, and let's add a light. Let's add an area light. Let's go let's just move this a bit back so it can go on our text. Let's bring it a little bit down. RX 90. And let's increase let's make it a rectangle, and let's increase the X, let's increase the Y. Let's see how it looks in our render mode. Let's increase okay, so now you can see your text. So let's see how it's going to look in our camera. So it's going to look like this. Let's tilt this a bit higher, and let's create no shadows. Shift that a bit higher. Now we have our text. Let's just increase the Y, and we can change the color of our text to whatever we want. you want it as blue, if you want it as red, if you want it as green. I think we'll go with the blue. Let me just increase this. So yeah, that's your tutorial. That's how it's gonna look, and this is how you create this effect. Of course, you can play around with the lamps more, you can play around with the lighting more, but essentially this is how you do it. This is how you get going with this effect, and let's just see how it plays in our view. So let me just let's see how it plays. It's going to work. So this is how it's going to play. So you just have to go, and the next thing is just to render it out, and you go into your render settings, you create your area that you want to save it in, you then change it to FFmpeg encoding, MPEG 4, medium quality, and you get this effect. So I hope you guys enjoy the tutorial. I hope you guys subscribe. I have some more tutorials that I'm going to be doing. I hope you guys enjoy it, and I hope we can all learn how to use Blender, and I hope we all can use the software to make some beautiful effects, because it's really a beautiful software that can do a lot of things. So stay tuned for the next tutorial. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and thanks for watching.